Hey y'all, I'm James Wright and welcome to my shop. Stanley had made a lot of weird planes over the years, but few of them are as odd as the number 9. Let's dive in. The Stanley number 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9? The Stanley plane numbering system is a little bit odd, but the beginning of it is pretty simple. Small ones are number 1, all the way up to number 8. They're getting bigger and bigger, and you expect the number 9 to be even bigger, but no, the number 9 is this one. Stanley called the 4 smallest ones your smoothing plane. Then it gave us the jack, and the 4 plane, and the jointing plane, and the other jointing plane, and then the block plane. Yeah, look at this. This is the 1870 catalog. Smoothing planes 1 through 4, jack 4, jointer, block plane. The number 9 is a block plane. Stanley Rule and Level for the first couple decades sold rules and levels. They didn't do planes. But then Stanley found this guy named Leonard Bailey. And he said, you know what, Leonard, if you come over and work with us, give us your patents, we can make planes together, and Stanley can make them far better than Leonard could by himself. So in the 1870 catalog, Stanley now sells the Bailey plane, and actually took the stock that Bailey was selling and basically sold the same thing, with a few modifications to make it, well, the Stanley Bailey pattern plane. From the very first, Stanley sold the 1 through 8. These were the standard bench planes, and they've kind of become the standard sizes ever since then. From the number 1 all the way up to number 8. But Stanley kept selling other tools, and even in this first catalog, they had listed the number 9 as well. And this one it's an odd bird. This one does not belong to me. It's actually on loan from a friend of the channel. But you can tell it doesn't look anything like the standard Bailey pattern plane, except this adjustment knob in the back. This one has the same knob, but it's oriented up this way as opposed to being oriented into the plane that way. You'll also see the bed iron is way down here. It is a low angle bevel up plane. And on top of that, it has an adjustable mouth. But the adjustable mouth on this one is interesting because I can loosen this knob up here, and then I have a screw in the front, and this actually is what moves the mouth in and out. And I can finally adjust the mouth with this adjusting screw on the front. And then when I get the mouth where I want it, put this on here and crank this down to lock the mouth in place so it doesn't move around. The other cool thing is it has a hot dog. I know, honestly, that's what most people call it now, is it's a hot dog mounted on the side of the plane. There's a set screw on the side that you can loosen up and take the hot dog off. The nice thing is that makes this left-handed or right-handed, and you can switch it from side to side. It also means you're probably going to see some damage on the Japanning here where that set screw goes into. Taking it apart is much like a normal one with a lever cap. You take this off, and now you can pull out the iron. And the iron is actually a very, very long iron. With this hot dog in it, it's a little bit fun to wiggle it out of there. It doesn't have a chip breaker on there. It has this plate, which is what engages with the yoke. And the yoke on this one is an odd shape. It comes in here, then levers up into this, but it works on the same principle. Running this nut in and out adjusts the yoke forward and backward to advance the iron and retract the iron. The bed inside is nothing terribly simple. It's just a flat surface here at the same angle touching right here and then all the way up at the front. And so there isn't a whole lot of contact, but because it's a low angle, you don't really need a lot of contact. One of the other interesting features to this is that it's one of the few planes that Stanley said it's going to be square sole to cheek. I know that's a little bit odd, but most of Stanley's planes weren't actually square, sole to cheek. There was always a little bit of movement in there, and that meant that this was easier to get out of the casting. But this had a different role from a regular plane. This side needed to be square to the sole. And that's because it was designed to be used as a shooting plane. You'd actually rest it on the surface. This hot dog gave you a really comfortable place to grab it, and you could shoot with it. It's honestly not all that amazing at shooting. It does the work, and it does it fairly well, but it's not great. It does have that low angle, which makes it phenomenal on end grain shooting. But it's nowhere near the masterpiece that Stanley later came out with, the Stanley 51. This does shooting and does it incredibly well, whereas this, it does shooting, just not quite as well. Where it does actually shine is freehand shooting. Rather than being on the bed, because that low angle, I can come in here and I can shoot in grain, actually relatively comfortably with that back grip on there. This squirrel tail grip was very common in block planes, especially when they moved away from this form factor to what we now think about as a block plane. This is basically the same thing. Low angle, bevel up, but to be designed to be used in a hand, commonly on end grain. That's why Stanley later came out with the 9.5 and the 9 1/4 and the other block planes, which are all 9s. They're kind of saying, yeah, this is okay, but it wasn't the best design, and that's why you don't find a lot of these, but you do find a lot of these. You do see a lot of people talking about using these for cleaning up end grain butcher blocks, because it's low angle, it'll cut through that end grain and it'll do large surfaces nicely. Problem with that is if you're doing large surfaces, this grip isn't great. The traditional bench plane grip, though, would be great, and it would be really nice if I had this blade factor in this grip factor. And that's the very reason why Stanley came out with this 62, because it allows you to grip it and hold it nicely and has that lower angle, so when you're doing butcher blocks, this is phenomenal. And that's why Stanley came out with the 62 and called it the butcher block plane. But then we're left with this, the Stanley No. 9. It's an odd piece of history in between the regular bench planes and what came later on once they figured out that this works, but it doesn't work really well. It holds that odd distinction in history where the multi-use tool actually came before the individuals. This did everything that the shooting board plane and the low angle and the block plane did, but it didn't do any of them really well. Whereas this one did shooting really well, and this did butcher blocks really well, and this did little details, chamfers, and small end grain really well. Whereas this did them all, it just didn't do it quite satisfactorily. I personally find it really surprising that this came out at the same time as all the other bench planes, because it has so many advancements with the movable mouth and the low angle and the squirrel tail and the adjustability, and it really has all of these cool features that you would think would come over time. But no, it was one of the first planes that Stanley put out in their catalog. And as with any tool that doesn't have a lot of use, and Stanley didn't make that many of them, it's pricey. Yes, these are kind of collectible because they did not sell really well. Stanley continued to sell them for a while, but eventually the other tools made out and they stopped selling this. And they never sold that many of them. So you don't come across them all that often, and when you do, you better have a really well-endowed pocketbook. If you ever get a chance to look at all the Stanley catalogs, the 1870 catalog is fantastic because that's when they brought in Leonard Bailey and they started selling other things than rules and levels. Even though they were still called the Stanley Rule and Level, they started selling other things. Some of them didn't last very long. Some of them did, and they're still making some of them today, but others, not so much. So if you ever come across one of these block planes in the wild, realize it might work for you, or it might just be something that looks good on the shelf. They're not the world's most amazing tools, but they are a lot of fun to play with and an interesting piece of history. So I hope you like this. If you have any questions, thoughts, ideas, snide remarks, down below, you know what to do with those. I do want to say a huge thank you to patrons and members and people who makes this video happen. Thank you for letting me borrow this for a little while and show it off. And it does mean a lot to me for everyone who supports this channel, and all the names are scrolling over there on that side. If you want to find out more about becoming a patron, and we do a bunch of giveaways and other things like that every month, then there's information down below. I think that'll do it for now, and until next time, have a wonderful day. Stanley didn't offer this plane for all that often, and eventually they had to reject it, and they put it aside and started selling other tools instead. And that's why it's called the Stanley No. 9!